follow my channel and have seen everything, well, this is going to be kind of different because my car's been stolen. I don't really know when or where. Well, I know where, it was right here, or how it happened, but you can clearly tell that this is where it was parked, and it's not here. It's not here at all. So I'm gonna try to figure it out. My life, really bummed out about that. There's a lot of work, a lot of time. Now, just kidding with you, it's right here. I moved it back. Well, we're trying to put the engine in. So this is actually day 2 of trying to put the engine in. Day 1, I mean, this is kind of a process that I can't fully record because I'm just not that skilled with the camera, and I'm mostly doing this by myself. So yeah, but the process was getting it out of my apartment and moving it from there to here. Then I moved the car back so I could have room in the front. But so far it's been a pain in the ass doing it alone. Really test your patience. So I do feel like I've made progress because the engine is in the car, but it's not in the car. And I'll explain this a little bit more now. So as you can see, we do have the rb20 inside of the S14. All of the wiring harness and stuff like that is just zip tied up so that it doesn't get in the way of anything. However, if you can see right there, that is the problem I'm facing right now. The engine is on the mounts, but it is not actually in the bolt hole. That is as far as I got last night before I lost all of the light and my phone died and it was too dark to continue working. In the process, I also broke my leveler, so that's cool too. So I'm almost there. Today, of course, off camera, I'm gonna go ahead and just basically try to get it on there so I can bolt it up. Once it's bolted up, that's it. Engine's in the car, and then I can start connecting things and get this thing running in time for the actual show. But it does look, you know, it's kind of cool just to see it in there. In fact, and then as far as the shifter location, I think it's still at an angle. It's still angled down, but yeah, it's gonna line up when we like finish getting everything in there. So I think that's pretty much it so far. My jack decided it was gonna break. I don't really know too much about jacks and like the hydraulic system in there, but it only lifts up. It's about here now. Even though it's supposed to go all the way up, it goes here and then it just taps out. It doesn't even go up anymore after that. So yeah, that is where I'm at with it right now. So like I said, there will be an update video soon, but as of right now, this is where I stand, and it looks like everything's gonna clear. So I don't really have any problems with that. Mount kit, cool. You know what? Oh, so a lot of people say that the downpipe doesn't fit or doesn't clear on the KA, you know, steering rack, whatever. That's the fitment that I have. I notched it a little bit, so you see right there is where I notched it. I didn't even need to do that. It's like a decent amount of room in between the downpipe and the steering rack. I probably could have just ran this stock, honestly. So maybe that's the difference between the S13 and the S14. I'm not 100% sure, but that's my experience so far. Granted, it's not on the mounts yet, but so far, that's something that I haven't had to worry about. Something that other people might have to do. We'll see. But yeah, that's pretty much it so far. So, until the next clip, which will probably hopefully be later on today. Get this thing fully in the car. That's the last clip. I got the engine mounted on the mounts yesterday. So it's sitting on the Megan Racing motor mounts and stuff like that. I did that yesterday. Then today I've kind of just been going in and connecting what I can. So I put the radiator in, tried to connect this, Come to find out it's too long, so I'm about to cut that. I don't know about the bottom piece yet. But yeah, I'm just doing connections. So I connected that, or I'm about to. Connected the brake booster vacuum line to here. So that's that. I'm still doing the harness. This part of the harness is going to go through the firewall and into the actual car. This is the throttle cable, so this will go over here to that. But yeah, that's pretty much what I'm just doing, miscellaneous connections and stuff like that. The engine is in, the transmission is not. The transmission is not bolted up yet because I don't have the transmission bolts, but that's where it sits with the mount kit that I have. And that is an eBay mount kit, so you're fine. If that's a concern with you, you're fine. But yeah, I'm just kind of buttoning it up, doing what I can, getting this thing close to attempting first start. Not really that much else to say. Orange cables for the battery relocation, so that'll go towards the back. You know, the little stuff. Not really 100% sure on how many days it's been. It's been a bit of a process. Like, this is no easy task. And then I kind of just have had that thing where I've just been going to work and not really thinking about recording because the car show is in 2 weeks. And I still got to get this thing running and driving. So, between now and the last clip, let's see. I think in the last clip I showed that we got the motor in. So, if I didn't, we got the motor in. It is not mounted yet, but it is on the bolts. Let's see. Like, it's on the mounts. It's just not bolted down yet because the transmission is not bolted in. I didn't have the transmission bolts, so I ordered them from Nissan. They should be coming today. Transmission bolts and drive shaft bolts. So it's not bolted down and torque to spec yet because the transmission is still being supported by a jack. I still have to raise it up so that I can bolt it in. Once I do that today, hopefully, if I still have time, I can put in the drive shaft and call that a successful thing. Second, connections that I've made. So, I don't know if this is accurate, but I just put the throttle cable like this. I haven't tested it out yet. I went to AutoZone to get a little vacuum line for this. I had to get a new hose for this. Did my fuel pressure regulator adapter, which got rid of the first fuel line. Then this is, I'm guessing, the return. I already had this piece, so I had to get a fitting. I had to get a fitting and those little small hose, same size, 2 clamps, just to get it onto there. So that was that. This is the radiator thing. Obviously, it's too long. I gotta cut it some more. And then there's the bottom one. I gotta clamp that one down too. What else? Wiring harness. As you saw in my last videos, I did install it. However, the actual main part of the harness is now connected to the car via here. So I got the ECU connected and the main chassis interface is right there. Everything else is either not connected yet or unplugged. I connected the ignition system to kind of get that going. I haven't tried to start the car yet because it won't start. For some reason, I don't know if it's the actual wiring specialties harness or if it's just something hooked up wrong, which it probably is just something hooked up wrong. But the starter is not getting signal. The starter signal is not getting power, so it doesn't even try to crank. However, the fuel pump does prime. So that's a win in my books. Know that it has fuel, because before I hooked up the fuel lines, this line, I tested it and forgot about the fuel pump entirely, shot fuel everywhere. So I know that it's getting fuel. yeah, it's pretty much just this starter circuit. I'm gonna try to call Wiring Specialties today, but basically, if I can get that wire right there with the orange connector on it, that is the starter signal, and that's supposed to get 12 volts when you try to start it, but it gets nothing whenever I try to start it or whether I'm not trying to start it. Also, the car does, well, based on what I said, the car does have a battery and everything now. I took a trip to AutoZone like yesterday, I think, yesterday or the day before that. All my tools back here, and bought a battery. Hooked it up. I hooked up the grounds with the existing cables that I had. I hooked up the powers. I had to buy a new power cable because the one that I had from both the engine swap and the car already wasn't long enough to relocate to the back, so I need a little extra. So that's then. I do have to get a tie down for this. I think that for a temporary tie down, I'm probably just gonna get like a bungee cable and wrap it around that bracket that's already back there. I mean, I'm gonna of course clean it up later. Some extra parts. This was the old hose. This is the universal grounding kit. It came with the Wiring Specialties harness as part of a promotional deal. So I don't know if I need to use that. We'll see. Trying to think what else. Any other connections that I might have made. I think that's it. I still have to install the clutch. I just got the bolts for the clutch to go into the transmission, so I'll probably install that either today or tomorrow as well. Let's see. Also, right at the coolant overflow, and I have an intercooler now. Piping is on the way as well. Intercooler is just mounted with some brackets that I already had on the car and the brackets that it came with. So that's that. I think that's pretty much it as far as the updates for now. So next clip I'll probably be having a decent amount of progress done on it. We'll see though. Where I'm back here working on the 240 again, or just the update video. Let's see. I think the difference between this time and last time is the transmission is mounted. Let's go ahead and peek under here. So the first thing I'm gonna say is never underestimate the power of loosening up some bolts just so that you can wiggle around mounts and get them in, because that is the sole reason why I was able to get this transmission mount in. I had to loosen the connection to the solid mount so I could wiggle around the cross member and bolt those up and then tighten everything down at once. Secondly, the drive shaft is not in. It's in this side, but it's not in down there. I gotta bolt that up. So that's still to be done. As you can see, Shaft Masters. Definitely recommend them. But the transmission is mounted in, hard mounted in. So, another thing. The engine is in. I tightened down this side. I gotta tighten down the other side. What I was about to do was install my clutch onto the transmission, so I got it hanging down there. I'm about to do that pretty soon. In here, this is kind of interesting. So, as of right now, the car does not start. The harness is hooked up though. So, let's see if I can go ahead and just direct you here. Got the ECU in. Everything is plugged up. There's a chassis interface here for the harness. That's where that plugs into. Let's see what else. Then you have one plug that comes off here and goes into these two plugs. This is for your starter, and I don't know what that one's for, but this is where they both go. So you plug those in, boom. As of right now, I'm experiencing a problem. The fuel pump primes, so I know that the harness is working, but my starter does not receive 12 volts to the signal wire. Therefore,
if I try to crank it, nothing happens. The fuel pump will prime and that'll be it. I can hear the relays clicking, these two relays, I can hear them clicking. And I tested and got 12 volts coming out of here, going into there, which is the starter wire. So, I know that 12 volts is getting past the ignition lock cylinder. However, when it gets to this connector on the fuse box, it is 0. So between here and here, I have a open or something like that that's causing it not to get 12 volts. I believe that is the only reason that's keeping me from starting this car, and that's what I'm basically trying to figure out now. So what I think it is something with my fuse box, because as of right now, even my headlights and stuff don't work, and they should. So I'm guessing that something's not grounded or what. I mean, if you guys know, please put a comment down or shoot me a message or something. But the setup that I have with the relocation is I have given battery power to the 2 wires right here, and that's it. But I did test the black wire and I did test that other white wire. Those have 12 volts power as well. I don't know if this is supposed to be a ground or if that's supposed to go to the battery, and I also don't know if I'm missing any fuses or anything like that. So if you do know, can you please comment, let me know. That would help out a bunch trying to get my 240 to start and theoretically run, because if I can start it, I'll probably drive it. Shifter positioning, perfect. I think that's pretty much it so far. It's been a slow and steady thing. I mean, at this point, the show is in 2 weeks, and I got 2 weeks to figure out why my starter is not getting signal. Part of me does want to just jump power to the starter, but at the same time, I want everything else to work too. And I feel like once I figure out what's happening with the fuse box, everything will work there. So that's pretty much it right now. I'm actually just gonna post this one, and I probably won't make another video until I get this thing started, or at least, you know, cranking or something like that. We'll see how, if I do that.